George Foulkes, followed by Robin Harper.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Can I too welcome Angela Constance's initiative in seeking and even more in obtaining this debate, and her introduction was so good and comprehensive that I can be relatively and perhaps mercifully brief in my contribution. Angela, Mary Mulligan and I have in fact worked together on this issue on a non-party basis, I think very cooperatively for the last 4 months. And can I also, and I mean this very genuinely, join Mary Mulligan in thanking the Cabinet Secretary, John Swinney, for meeting us on a number of occasions, for updating us on the issue in very great detail, and which I must confess he has handled with great skill, great diplomacy and genuine concern. And Willie Coffey's contribution reminded me that it contrasted very interestingly with the First Minister's intervention, which was a bit more like a bull in a china shop over Diageo. However, all of this has provided some help for the workers who are being made redundant, although sadly all our efforts haven't persuaded Bausch Lomb to change their minds. For I believe, as Angela said, that the decision to close the Livingston factory announced on the 4th of September was misguided. I was going to say short-sighted, but I thought that might be a bit too, sound a bit too trite. And in fact, the slow death of the operation, and this is, I think, one of the worst aspects of it, as each production line is closed one after the other and transferred to Waterford, is going to be a real torture for the workforce, as well as involving great overheads for Bausch Lomb as it continues with a reducing production at Livingston. And as Angela Constance said, the loss of 500 jobs in Livingston is a very significant loss of employment in that one town, and it's going to be difficult to replace. And as Gavin Brown rightly said, Mr Ostrov, the Bausch Lomb chairman and chief executive, I notice he has both those jobs and gets paid very substantially and handsomely for both of them. As he said, the closure of the factory is not in any way a reflection of the performance, professionalism and dedication of the Livingston workforce. And that's certainly true, but I'm sure Gavin Brown would agree with me, it's scant comfort to those who are being paid off. Their decision also reflects a tendency, which has been mentioned by Angela and by Willie and by others, which is all too prevalent for multinationals to come to Scotland to take assistance from the government, and then, when it's suitable for them and propitious for them, to move on. So in this connection, can the Cabinet Secretary, in his reply to the debate, tell Parliament, confirm exactly how much the total public money, including regional selective assistance, has been to Bausch Lomb, how much they've been given, and if Angela Constance is correct that it's £1.1 million that will have to be returned? I think it would be useful to have that confirmed. And I would join Angela and others, I'm sure, in a plea to him to ensure and to give a pledge that that money will be recycled to help to provide jobs in Livingston in particular and West Lothian in general. Can I also welcome the support being given by the PACE Scottish Enterprise Job Centre Plus group, particularly to the first 45 workers who have already left. But could the Minister tell Parliament, now they have left, how many of the 45 have now found alternative employment? Because all this help may be going in, but it would be useful to know if it's had some effect. Can I also say that one of the key people with all of this is Linda McPherson, East Region Director of Scottish Enterprise, who gave Mary Mulligan and I a very helpful briefing on this, and I must say she was really clued up with what was going on and working hard to help. And she mentioned the possibility of Bausch Lomb setting up a research and development facility in pharmaceuticals, which the Cabinet Secretary also mentioned when we met with him, and which the First Minister made great play of following his meeting with Gerald Ostrov. Could the Minister update us as to whether or not there has been any progress on that particular proposal? And I think Linda McPherson also said to us, and indeed I think the Cabinet Secretary confirmed this, that the former owner of the factory, Ron Hamilton, might be willing to get involved in some way in providing alternative employment, and it would be helpful to have an update on this also. Well, I'd better finish now to leave the Cabinet Secretary plenty of time to answer these and other questions that have been raised. But just before doing so, can I very gently advise him, from an awful long time, perhaps too long, in politics, and Angela and Willie as well, that sadly governments can do relatively little in the face of these big multinational companies, as I think Willie Coffey effectively admitted in his speech. Even governments that have all the powers that Angela and others would like the Scottish Government to have. Sadly, that is the case. That shouldn't stop us, however, as a government and as a parliament, putting as much pressure that we possibly can on Bausch Lomb, and I'm glad to have joined Angela and others to be part of that.